Hey there, it's Marley Major. Before we dig in, don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that bell because you definitely don't want to miss another glorious disaster here on Every Day's a Train Wreck. Because missing an episode, now that would be a train wreck. Let's get to it. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Every Day's a Train Wreck. I'm your host, Marley Major, and we have a fan favorite back, Mr. Nils Grevillius, who is an author. Nils is a private detective with 30 plus years experience in the field with some methods perhaps that not everybody uses. Let's just say that. Now I'm going to let him introduce himself and tell us all about his book, etc. But the topic today is cheating, or excuse me, infidelity for the bougie audience. Nils, welcome to the show.
Well, I'm very pleased to be aboard, Marley. You are very distinguished company for me to make a presentation to, and your audience, very
Well,
discerning audience that you have.
oh, no question. No, very discerning when the podcast title is Every Day's a Train Wreck. But yes, you are right. And we are very, very excited to have somebody like you on because so many of us, we see private investigators really like only on TV, and we have a perception of them like they're these really cool dumpster diver guys and they, kind of can do whatever they want in the shadow of darkness. And tell us what it's really like. And then also tell us what it's like to work with people who are trying to find out if their significant other is cheating.
Okay. Well, I got my start in military intelligence as a counterintelligence agent, and I lived and worked all over the world. And then I was a Pinkerton agent. For those of you who don't know, the Pinkertons are the oldest secret intelligence and investigation operation in the world, founded in the 1850s
Ooh.
by a Scottish expat named Alan Pinkerton. They protected Abraham Lincoln all during the Civil War, and when when they were taken off the case, President Lincoln was shot.
Well,
So
that's not a testimonial right there. I don't know what is. Okay, keep going.
right, but it's like ShamWow. I mean, either it is or it
Yeah.
isn't. So that's my beginning stages, and then I've worked in metropolitan Los Angeles handling all sorts of things: extortion cases, kidnapping recovery, dead body matters, things like that. Occasionally I do have somebody who comes to me with an infidelity situation, male or female.
Oh, bless us. Okay. And I love this because one of my favorite shows on the planet, I don't know if it's still on, is called Cheaters. And it was that show with what's his name, Joey somebody, and it just everything. It's like Jerry Springer meets I don't even know what, but it's the equivalent of they jump out of the bushes and are like, "Hi, I'm going to show you the video of your wife making out with the other guy." Right? So what's the process? Like, how do people call you? Do they call you Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 and say, I want you to check and see if my wife is cheating? Do they text you? Does a friend tell them? And then what?
Okay, so there are some people who for whom it is intensely spur of the moment. They get a phone call from their wife saying she's going to be 40 minutes late getting home.
Ooh.
And they're convinced that somewhere between the office where she works and the suburban home, she is going to link up with the Los Angeles Clippers and service every single one of them before she
Oh,
makes it
okay.
home to cook dinner for the husband and kids.
Yeah.
And those are the worst prospective clients a private detective can ever deal with. And it is,
Why?
well, okay, because they want you to rescue them from themselves more than their philandering spouse. What it is they've got a personality disorder and they want something to be done spur of the moment. They're never willing to pay an adequate fee. You tell
Right.
them what your hourly rate is, and they're immediately complaining about what the hourly rate is. And I don't get it. Can't you just follow her for a minute and a half in the morning and 47 minutes
Oh, right.
between?
And catch her. Right.
Right. And so it becomes intensely problematic. And when you don't get the requested footage within 21 hours, like it's NCIS or something like that, they think that you've swindled them in some way and they're demanding their money back or something like that. It's more trouble than anyone in my profession ever wanted. I had a man come into my office referred by a family law attorney whom I had known for years and was friends with my mother, who was also a lawyer.
Mhm.
And he sits down and he starts telling me his tale of woe. And it's exactly that. It typically takes her 2 hours to get home from work. Well, the other night she was home in 2.5 hours, and I think she's doing something. And she
Mm.
makes a lot more money than I do because I only work part time. And
Oh,
I'm
okay.
worried when she doesn't get home. And I think that there's this guy at the office and all of this other stuff. And then he's complaining about every single thing else in his life, and he shoves a photo of her across the desk, and she's an attractive woman. And I start thinking to myself, maybe I should have a stab at her.
I knew you were gonna say that. I literally knew you were gonna say, dude, if she wasn't having an affair before, she will be now with yours truly, private detective Nils Grevillius.
But
Okay,
I
keep
can't do
going.
that. That's unethical. I'm not going to do
I
that.
get it. Yeah, I know, but I'm gonna try.
Okay, so this sort of person typically wants to micromanage an investigation that I have complete responsibility for. The problem with micromanagers in any situation, whether it's party planning, running the White House, Meineke muffler shop, is they want complete control and zero responsibility for the outcome.
Yes. Bingo. That is you are exactly right.
What I do is my approach in any situation, whether it's an unfaithful spouse or an embezzling employee or a dead body that the police won't find, is to concentrate exclusively on the solution, never on the problem. If the client is just thinking about the problem, they'll identify 1,000 other problems and they'll never get to the solution. So just concentrate on the solution.
Okay, but wait, but like unpack that for a second. When you because I know obviously I understand what your words mean, but when you're saying concentrate on the solution, meaning the solution being they're trying to get evidence for a divorce or like what do you mean by that?
Okay, so Loretta comes into my office and she says she has caught Clyde cheating on her 2 times in the past, and she's very certain because she walked in and Clyde had his trousers around his ankles, and the housekeeper was on the washing machine
Oh
with her
my, okay.
knees in the air. Okay,
Okay. Okay.
okay, that's infidelity. All right.
Yeah.
She's not concentrating on the solution. She's concentrating on the problem. And the problem is that Clyde is never going to be made into anything that Clyde isn't already. Clyde
Right.
can't be made into a decent husband. Clyde isn't going to ever be faithful to her. If he is so disrespectful that he would do it with the housekeeper in the house, he is incapable of keeping it zipped. Okay, it's not going to happen. So what
Right.
she's trying to do is akin to human alchemy. She's trying to make chicken salad from chicken shite. And so
Mhm.
my response to Loretta is, Loretta, you already know what he's doing. Unhose yourself. And the way that you unhose yourself is start making plans, whether you execute on the plans or not, for
Mm.
getting divorced.
Yeah.
Because if you can't live with what Clyde is, you have to end the situation, whether through divorce or separation. Some think of maybe murder, perhaps. And
Mhm.
I can't be party to anything like that. And if somebody says, well, I'm going to kill my wife because she's humping the basketball coach at my son's school, I have to dial 911. Okay. I can't be party to that. So often they'll listen to reason. Sometimes not.
Okay.
They'll just go to the next private investigator down the road to get more heartbreak. And what you're doing is you're making yourself vulnerable to extortion. If you go into
Now,
somebody
wait,
that you
pause. But when you say sometimes they'll listen to reason, what would the reason be the quote reasonable thing be? That they should prepare for divorce, that they should or what when you're saying they'd listen to reason, what are you referring to?
Okay, so listen to reason means start inventorying what your assets are,
Mhm.
what Clyde has control of. If there's some indicia that Clyde has a secret double life with women, chances are good that Clyde has a secret double life with money, where he
Mhm.
keeps money outside of the family accounts.
Now, why do you say that? Because, like, a cheater is a cheater in more than one way kinda thing?
Correct. It's a
Okay.
personality disorder. You know, I was walking down the street and I suddenly found myself on top of a cocktail waitress. It was the
Mhm.
strangest thing, right? It's a
Mhm, mhm,
personality disorder.
mhm,
And they infidelity, the more destructive form of infidelity isn't what somebody does with their giblets, Marley. It's
mhm,
what they do with the union that is supposed to be your marriage. Okay,
mhm,
and if they're abusive and unfaithful with their
mhm.
giblets, they're going to be more unfaithful to what the marriage stands for.
Right,
Second life, a dual life, a parachute to jump out of the airplane when Loretta catches Clyde or when Clyde catches Loretta, that sort of
yeah,
thing. They're going to hide money. Now, somebody who has no assets, they're living from hand to mouth, barely getting by, that sort of thing. Their wife is cheating on them. Why invest any money if you know your wife is cheating on you? You either live with it or you divorce her. I mean, it's simple. It's the
right,
simplest divorce in the world. Now, the
right,
assets are the important part. You start
right.
looking for hidden bank accounts, hidden safe deposit boxes, credit cards that you were unaware of, real estate investments with your significant others, disaster of a family. I've seen this many times, particularly in some ethnic communities where it turns out the husband owns three other pieces of real estate with
Mm,
his brothers and sisters that the
yeah.
wife is unaware of.
Now let me ask you a question. Okay, but hang on. So is so I wanna try to get this out properly. Is the duplicity is it the trait that the guy is cheating, or girl, could be, but that the guy is cheating, and therefore, because of the trait, he cheats in other things, i.e., has stuff in the Cayman Islands, whatever, other real estate, other families? Or is it he's cheating and he's just one step ahead of her in terms of creating accounts in the Cayman Islands, creating other bank accounts so that when if he has to make his exit, he can?
I won't
Or
know
is it a
until I
combination of
conduct
both?
an investigation, Molly. And
Okay.
and one it's the same thing. It's all the same thing. The symptom of it is what the person does with their giblets. That's the symptom. The disease
Mhm.
is the inconstancy to the one that you are betrothed. That is the disease. Now, back in the bad old days before no fault divorce, bums like me earned a handsome living as transom peepers, and that was the terminology back in the days of one shot cameras from the 1920s.
No, wait, what are transom keepers?
It was the It was the vernacular for a private detective who peeps over the transom to catch
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Loretta riding up and down on Steve. Okay. And so they
Yeah,
stick a camera over the transom and
yeah.
take the one photo that is necessary to prove infidelity in court. All right.
Mhm. Got it.
So that's a transom peeper. Now, you will see things like the TV show Cheaters, and that creates an expectation in the hearts and minds of many people, men and women, and they think they're going to do a ride along with someone like me
Oh,
while I
that's my
follow.
dream, is with Joey. I wanna do a ride along with Joey. Okay, keep it's Joey Fatone. What's the guy's name? I don't know. I'm
No, I
desperate
think
to
it was
meet
Kato
Joey.
Kalin, darling.
No, okay. Well, I did run into Kato Kalin, actually. Yes. Kato and I had a nice little chat. Love the guy.
He is
Okay, anyway, keep
living
going.
proof that Ginger dated Gilligan on the side. Okay.
Okay. Okay. Okay. Thank you, Nils. Okay, yes. Back to Joey Fatone or whatever his name is.
All right.
Okay.
So that is a recipe for homicide. If you take Loretta with you while you follow Clyde around town and it gets to be real saucy and juicy, he's supposed to be bowling on Tuesday night with the Lockheed
Oh,
Martin
he's
bowling.
bowling, all right. He's
Right.
bowling. Yeah.
Right. Instead, he's up at some hot pillow joint on Angelino with some redheaded tranny with chipped teeth or something like that. Loretta would get over that quicker than she would ever get over Clyde picking up her half sister and taking her half sister, who's married to somebody else, to the hot pillow joint or something like that. And that is a recipe for homicide. That's when Loretta pulls her 38 out of her purse and lets the air out of both of them.
Is that just only on the show Cheaters, or do you think there are private investigators that actually would take the person for a ride along?
So the more emotional your client is, the more vulnerable they are.
Mhm.
And if I am the sort of man who likes to steal from people, I'm in an ideal position to steal from Clyde because of what Loretta is doing. As a matter of fact, Clyde, we saw Loretta with that Mexican brake mechanic from the Meineke franchise just the other day. I think his name is Jose Santibaño, and it looked like they enjoy dancing the tango quite a bit, Clyde.
Oh
Now,
my goodness
in order to
gracious.
get proper proof of this, we're probably going to have to follow Loretta for 4.5 more weeks. Do you think you could take a second out on your mother's Lake Arrowhead cabin to pay the
Mhm.
retainer? You've laid yourself wide open by saying what your worst fear is to a man who earns a living by doing things to people. All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And I'll back up just a minute to an important point. No person with any brain in this country makes a decision, an important decision about spying on the person that they love without a very serious recommendation from somebody that they trust.
Goes back to that know, like, and trust thing again. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
private investigators used to advertise in the yellow pages, and there'd be these full display ads of the Sherlock Holmes cap and the
Mhm.
magnifying glass and all this sort of thing.
Mhm.
Never did one of those ads because I didn't want those cases. I
Yeah.
had only a bold listing, Nils Grevillius, private detective, Pasadena, just a bold listing, and that's it.
Yeah.
And my website, I don't advertise philandery cases. I don't want them for the most part. Okay.
Right.
When it
Yeah.
touches on abuse or assets, I will get involved.
Mhm.
But I don't, I charge a king's ransom for my work. And if my sense is that the party already knows that their spouse is cheating, I cut right to the chase. Let's investigate for assets and or abuse. And when I say
Mhm.
abuse, abusing the children, abusing relationships, things like that,
Mhm.
putting people in a corner economically. Sometimes you'll
Mhm.
see family members who advantage themselves,
Oh, I
parents
wouldn't
are
know
dying,
anything about
things
that.
like that.
Yeah. Mhm.
So that is an abuse. That's not, normal course of business things. Another thing is substance abuse. Sometimes
Mm.
people engage in bad behavior because they're using illegal substances. And I'm going to give you a very concrete, specific example. If
Okay.
Loretta is snorting methamphetamine so that she can maintain her, go-go dancer body into her
Mhm.
70s, okay, or her
Mhm.
60s, or her 40s, or her 30s,
Mhm.
the side effect of methamphetamine is often to induce or exacerbate bipolar condition, and bipolar condition often manifests
Ooh,
itself
I didn't know that.
as hypersexuality, which is how you wind up with a woman who thinks she needs to couple 3 times a day with 4 different men. And you do
Oh
the
my.
math, that's what you're dealing with, okay?
Mhm.
Now, if Loretta were not using the methamphetamine, she might be the woman that Clyde once married and loved.
Mhm.
Okay. And so a decision has to be made. Will my drug addicted wife go into treatment? Anybody with a good heart is going to overlook things that are beyond their philandering spouse's control once,
Mm.
maybe twice at the most.
Mhm.
Let me get Loretta into treatment for this situation and make a decision about our marriage after we've got the scope of that. Now, you're not going to get Loretta to agree to that unless and until you have proof.
Even having proof and even having Loretta agree to it doesn't mean Loretta's behind it, meaning doesn't mean Loretta actually wants to change. Loretta just wants to get herself out of her current fix.
You may be correct. Sometimes people drink to turn into someone else, and
Mhm.
sometimes they use drugs to reveal the person who always was. And so it's a
Mhm.
chicken versus egg situation.
Mhm.
Every case is different. Huh? Um,
Yeah.
And then there's the other abuse. It's the money abuse. It's the dual life economically, hiding
Mhm.
assets from my wife. Yes, I make $480,000 a year, and I don't tell Loretta about the $100,000 Christmas bonus that I got in
Mm.
stock dividends. And I
Mhm.
had that money separately for my fishing trip with the boys, which is actually
Mhm.
a trip to the midnight chicken ranch in Pahrump, Nevada, you know.
Mhm.
And then I have to go to the free clinic every Monday for 3 weeks afterwards. Anyway, this is the sort of thing that I'm talking about in terms of abuse: money,
Yeah.
drugs, children, etc. Once
Mhm.
I was asked by a lawyer, a very skilled lawyer, a gifted lawyer, to follow a woman. The husband's interest was, what does Loretta do now that we're separated with our 2-year-old and our 3-year-old? What Loretta was doing was Loretta was getting into the 2-buck chuck and
Ugh.
laying out by the pool with the 2-year-old and the 3-year-old, and Nils and Donald Moon had to fish the 2-year-old out of the pool before the
Ay, for
2-year-old
real?
drowned while Loretta lay there, passed out from the
Yeah.
2-buck chuck. And 3 weeks later, her lawyer is bringing a motion in court talking about the abusive behavior of her estranged husband, hiring private detectives to keep her under surveillance. That's all.
Mm. Mhm.
Okay. That's abusive. And I do get involved in those situations. But in order to fully scope out what somebody is doing, the client has to be brave enough to commit to it, to commit to a plan of action, to not try to micromanage what the outcome is going to be, and then accept what it is that is discovered. One time, Loretta came to see me maybe 25, 26 years ago and said, Clyde has a very important job as a television director in Hollywood.
Mhm.
And Clyde went on some diet plan and got a personal trainer, and Clyde
Here
dropped
we
50
That's
pounds.
always when they're cheating. As soon as somebody tells me, "Oh, their husband started, like, waxing their chest or something," I'm like, "Game over." Okay, keep
Right.
going.
So Clyde has a new cologne. Clyde traded in his Volvo for an Alfa Romeo. Clyde has a leather jacket and he comes home 2.5, 3 hours late a couple of times
Clyde
a
is
week.
getting a spray tan. Yeah.
Right. So we place Clyde under surveillance, and this is back in the days of VHS cameras rather than
Mhm.
digital. And I follow Clyde from his studio job in his unmistakable red sports car, and I follow him to the gym. And Clyde does a workout. He's got this personal trainer, who looks like Black Lalaine, all that. It's He-Man workout time.
Mhm.
Then I follow Clyde, and Clyde, makes the circuit, whatever. And he goes to an apartment building in an area where all the blocks are bisected by alleys, right?
Hmm.
And I see that Clyde has entered an apartment. And I can see Clyde's progress into the apartment by the succession of lights that are turned on. So I have a pretty good
Oh,
idea where Clyde is.
yeah.
And so I move a dumpster in the alley so I can stand on top of the dumpster lid with my VHS camera and get the magic Kodak moment. Okay. So I got, intermittent 11 minutes of foreplay, you know, coupling, all that, right?
The usual.
Yeah, I did. So my pager's going off the whole time. Loretta is very anxious. What are you finding out? Damn you. And I didn't even have a mobile phone at the time. That's how long ago this was. I had to call her from a payphone when I was done. I said, you should be in my office tomorrow at 2 p.m. And I think we've solved what's going on. I think I know the identity of the person he's involved with, and got something pretty solid here. And so I sat her down in the office and I said, now, Loretta, I've got this tape and I don't want you to see it because it's explicit. And she says, no, no, damn
I
you.
wanna see
Uh,
it. I've gotta see it.
you know, I've got to see it. And so I said, no, I don't. And she insisted. So I put the tape in the machine and turn it on. And she gets to see her husband
Ugh.
taking it up the can by his black personal
Oh,
fitness trainer.
okay, okay, yeah.
Right? And she puts
Mhm.
her hands over her mouth and screams and gets up and
Ah!
shrieks at me, and she says, "How dare you stage something like this?
Oh,
Clyde is not a
no!
homosexual. You're a fraud. I'm gonna call the police on you for extorting me." And out the door she flies.
No, wait, are you this is real or a scenario? Okay, you're okay. That
It's
says it
as
all. All
serious
right.
as a search warrant, Marley.
Okay. All right. And you and your does Rose Kennedy have a black dress? Okay. Okay. So let me just make sure that I'm tracking with you. So she knew he was cheating and she wanted to catch him cheating, right? And it sounds like she probably would have been not okay, but I don't have a better word. Been okay with him cheating as long as it was with some, dime store hooker. But as soon as it was a dude, then it's like that doesn't fit the narrative, or did I get it wrong?
All of the above. I mean, she has some image in her mind of what Clyde amounts to,
Mhm.
his value and worth as a man, all of these things.
Mhm.
And, it's denial and it's a neuroses. As I said before, it's a personality disorder.
Mhm.
She's still married to him. I saw them in Trader Joe's in La Cañada 3 weeks ago, Marley. They're still
Mhm.
married.
For real?
Yeah. And the only way I could get her to pay her bill was by reminding her that the judge would want to see the tape in court.
So then it's part of, yeah. Oh, no.
Yeah,
You for real saw her in La Cañada at Trader Joe's 3 weeks ago.
does Rose Kennedy own a
I
black
have a
dress?
black dress. Yes. Oh my god. Now I'm upset with you as like my friend that I can't believe you didn't call me and tell me that so I could head to Trader Joe's in La Cañada. But anyway, we'll do that off the air. Um, wow. So Nils, that's crazy. And now I think I know the answer to this, but there's no way the guy has stopped cheating, right?
The difference between bisexual men and bisexual women is that bisexual men are gay and lying,
Yeah.
and bisexual women are heterosexual and bored.
Okay. Well, there you go for that. I'm sure I'm going to get a lot of interesting comments from the LGBTQ plus community on that note, but okay.
Anybody who's truly gay or lesbian knows that I'm telling the truth.
Yeah.
The
Okay.
people who
I get
get upset are the ones who call themselves their allies, meaning they're
okay.
neurotic co equals within the nominally heteronormative world, Molly.
Okay. So now let me ask you a question. So let's take somebody like Hunter Biden. Okay.
Hmm.
And, you know, I'm taking him has nothing to do with politics purely. So I don't want to talk about politics with respect to it, but I do want to talk about it because it's a case everybody knows. Right. So he's married, but he was married before, then the brothers dies and he's with the brother's widow, and then he's with the new chick, but then he's got the baby by the, you know, former dancer, I guess, and he's not paying that whole situation or paying the art or whatever, that's all. And but then he's on crack. And so where is the point? Like, what's the chicken or the egg? Like, was he cheating and doing these crazy things because of the drugs making him do it? Or did he does he do the drugs and the cheating and all these kind of things in your opinion because of the inherent personality thing? Where do you go with somebody like that?
Drug addiction, like alcoholism, is a progressive disease. It gets
Mhm.
worse, it
Mhm.
doesn't get better.
Mhm.
So if I'm married to Hunter Biden and Hunter Biden says to me, Nils, I'm so madly in love with you. I swear I'm just going to go back to snorting cocaine on Friday nights and I won't smoke it anymore. I'm a fool if I say to myself, now, I know that Hunter's going to, settle in and be a good gay husband to me, right?
Mhm.
He's never going to do it. It's not going to happen. It's human alchemy again. The heart of the issue is the substance abuse.
Mhm.
You can't even get a baseline on the man for whether or not he's going to be a normal faithful husband unless and until he deals with his addiction problem. That's it.
In your opinion, it really wouldn't be possible for him to be good or like for him to reform until the addiction is reformed, right?
That is correct.
Okay. So then if he reformed the addiction, so it wouldn't be possible without reforming the addiction, but in your opinion, it would be possible if he did reform the addiction. He could
It's
change.
it's possible. It's not.
Likely.
It's not terribly likely, but it exists within the realm of possibility. I'm going to give you a good example. Robert Downey Jr. used to be everything that Hunter Biden is or recently was.
I
And
sat next to him on a plane. That's a nice guy.
Robert Downey Jr. Completely grew out of that and stayed sober and off of drugs, and he underwent the psychic change necessary to recover from addiction. Maybe Hunter Biden has done the same thing, and a man or woman who does that can, in fact, be a faithful spouse.
But you have to like look it in the eye, look the tiger in the eye and own it, right?
Correct. I mean, there's a very interesting piece of advice I was once privileged to from a woman who had been around a husband who was an alcoholic, and what she said was, "Cause no problems and avoid no problems. Never
Wait,
walk on
cause no problem.
eggshells. Never, ever walk on eggshells, but don't be the cause of the problem at
Oh,
the
got
same
it.
time."
Okay. Right. Okay. Cause no problems, but avoid no problems. So if you're not stirring up stuff just for the sake of it, but if something gets in front of you, then, you
It
do what you
must be
gotta do.
dealt with. It must be dealt with.
Mhm.
A situation where a suburban wife is snorting methamphetamine and capering around with her best friends and sleeping with other men, that must be dealt with. To pretend as if it's a phase she's going through,
Yeah.
it's a phase she's going through, and the next phase is ruin. So it has to be dealt with immediately. And if sometimes a divorce must occur for somebody to start looking at what they've become. Okay.
Yeah.
Hunter
Yeah.
Biden's been divorced a couple of times, I think.
Mhm.
He's involved himself with his brother's widow,
Yeah.
that sort of thing.
That's just
It's
weird.
ugly, Jerry Springer stuff, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
Maybe inside of there is a good man, but
Mhm.
unless and until he's clean and sober, nobody knows, right?
'Kay, so now in a situation like not necessarily him, but if it like take somebody hypothetically who's kinda got the track record he's got, and this person is married now, what's the likelihood that he will stay faithful to the wife given what's happened in the past?
If he doesn't have a drug abuse alcohol situation,
Well, he does. I mean, let's just take he's Hunter Biden, but I know you can't
okay,
predict what
so
Hunter Biden's gonna do. So let's say
if he's in recovery, that he stands an adequate chance of overcoming that too, because it's part
mhm.
and parcel of the same thing. It's an expression of insecurity. The need to change how you
Ooh.
feel chemically is insecurity. It becomes its own personality disorder, a pathological need to alter one's perceptions. Well, that's the same thing with the philandering. I'm an inadequate man. I've got to make a play for every attractive woman that I meet. And if I have enough booze in me, I'll even make plays for women who are inappropriate, unattractive, unseemly, that I wouldn't otherwise be caught dead with because I have a thing inside me that is an expression of insecurity. It's the same thing with women. Women, when they are
Mhm.
unfaithful, drunk or sober, they are doing so because they're insecure. I'll never get
Now
the attention of the man that I truly wanted, and here I settled for this guy, and
mhm,
I'm just going to do whatever I want and F it. And if I get caught, I'll make it like it's his fault. And that's what we
mhm.
were getting to with Loretta and Clyde and the personal fitness trainer. It's a form of gaslighting. I know
Yeah.
what you saw in that videotape, Loretta, and that's not really me. Are you going to believe your lying eyes, or are you going to believe me, Clyde, the man who's bought you this beautiful suburban
Well,
home, has
okay.
given you two children?
Okay, but in those days, as you say, when it wasn't the days of I mean, these days I can say where somebody could be like, oh, they altered the photo or whatever. But as you said, this is like the big time movie camera you take the thing with. How would they convince the spouse that it wasn't them, or
Well, I
they
mean, a
just
liar is going to lie, and a really gifted, skilled, practiced liar like Clyde is going to convince Loretta that Loretta did not see what Loretta saw. And that even though she saw it, it wasn't the context of what it is that she saw. Loretta, when me and Francine, my secretary, went into that motel room, and Nils videotaped us going into the motel room and then coming out with disheveled clothing and everything 2.5 hours later. We were having a business conference and we couldn't do it in the office building. And you need to understand that business is very complex. And what I'd like you to do, Loretta, is go back to that transom peeper bum who set you up and took our money and get the money back. And
Yeah,
sure
got
enough,
it.
if Loretta has that personality disorder, that neuroses, she's banging
Mhm.
on my door 2.5 weeks later demanding a full refund because Clyde says he didn't really have sex with Francine in the motel room, and you don't know what you're doing talking about.
So is part of that like some kind of codependent thing too?
Yes,
Like she just like
codependency
that's
is a neuroses.
yeah, okay, so that's part of why she got with Clyde in the first place probably, or she stayed with him because yeah, okay, so then that's also part of the reason she believes it.
What if Loretta comes to me and says Clyde is cheating on me?
Mhm.
I have very good reason to believe, blah, blah, blah. And I take $5,000 from Loretta to investigate Clyde. And then I go to Clyde. I make an appointment in Clyde's office. Clyde is an insurance agent or something. And I come in and I say, now, Clyde, you don't know me, but I know you. I'm a private detective. And Loretta has paid me a little bit of money to check up on you, your behavior, your associations, your activities.
Mm.
Clyde, I know that you're right on the edge of greatness here. You're
Mm.
at an
Mhm.
important point in your career where you could progress to executive level. No more Hyundais for Clyde. Clyde could be driving a Pontiac and living in a much nicer suburb, smog choked suburb of San Bernardino County than this one.
Mhm.
Clyde, how much money will you pay me to give Loretta a really good report?
God, that's so crazy because when you and I were prepping for this podcast, you mentioned something like that, and I was just so blown away because I was like, "What?" Because you said like private investigators or private detectives can really prey on people, and I was like, "Well, how, like they're getting hired," but that makes perfect sense, of course. That it's like just go to the highest bidder, right? And then it's blackmail
Sure.
from the person who's supposed you're turning to help you.
Right, right. So maybe Clyde gets mad and goes home and beats Loretta up and says, Loretta, you gave $5,000 of our money to that private detective, you know? And
Yeah,
then Loretta calls me the next day and I say to Loretta, now, Loretta, are you going to believe me or are you going to believe your lying eyes?
yeah, yeah.
Clyde, uh, Clyde came over to my office because you told someone that you had hired me, didn't you? And Loretta says, yes, I told my sister Cindy. And Cindy just can't keep
She
her mouth
wouldn't say
shut.
anything, or yeah, but yeah, okay, yeah, keep going.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It becomes they become married to a worse situation than they
yeah,
were married to before. So when you undertake any type of an investigation, you want complete sub rosa secrecy. And the
and what is that
tendency of
again?
sub rosa, under the cover of the rose
Yeah,
is secrecy. Okay.
mhm,
So if you hire someone to investigate your secret lesbian lover, Marley, okay,
mhm,
you must not tell anyone that you have done
yeah.
this because this is the sort of secret that is like a bacillus. It's like telephone, telegraph, tell your best friend, and everyone in town will know
Yeah,
within
yeah,
27 minutes, particularly in a small town.
yeah,
Now, let's say you're living in a small town like, I don't know, Vail, Colorado. Beautiful
right,
place, right? Are
right.
you going to, if you think that Clyde is cheating on you, Loretta, are you going to hire a local private
Then you're gonna
detective?
yeah.
Somebody who's probably in the bowling league with Clyde,
Yeah,
or is maybe joined at the underwear with the same cocktail waitress that Clyde's fooling around with? You do not. You go two crappy ski towns over to Gunnison or something
mhm,
like that, and you hire another private detective and you give him the imprimatur and you say to him, now there may be another private investigator involved, and I'm not sure. I think maybe Clyde's employers have him under surveillance. I want you to be very discreet and careful, but tell no one what is
yeah,
going on.
yeah.
Now, in a situation of abuse, let's say you're Clyde and you believe that Loretta is smoking crack in the park with interesting characters, right? And you're going to have to build a case for child custody. You want to start inventorying things.
Mhm.
Like you want the hair follicles that she leaves on the pillow and in her hairbrush. Maybe even steal the whole hairbrush because the hair follicles are the thing that you test for all
Mhm.
substances, right?
Mhm. Mhm.
That's how you do that. All right.
Yeah.
And it's irrefutable. Another thing that you start doing is start looking at every account, every credit card account. And I'm seeing a lot more philanderers, male and female alike, hiding their money in things like Stripe accounts and
Oh, for
PayPal
God's sakes.
and Venmo instead
Like,
of
I
a
hope, like, so
traditional.
you're Venmoing the hooker? I mean,
You think,
seriously.
okay, all right, all right. So 20 years ago, I had one
Yeah. Mhm.
involving an abusive situation, a thievery situation, a lawyer and a teacher. And the lawyer was seeing a woman who was a beauty pageant contestant for like married women. And I won't say in what state because you would easily figure out who she is. All right.
Mhm.
And she had like a cooking show on YouTube and she was allegedly a caterer. But really what was she was a $2,000 a shot call girl and she used a catering business in order
No.
to launder the money coming in for that and the cannabis that she was dealing.
Oh, for the love.
All right.
Wow.
Down is up is down, good is bad, sweet is
Yeah.
bitter.
Yeah. Okay. So Nils, what should somebody do? What should they do if they suspect that their partner is cheating? Like, what's the, I mean, other than call you, but actually, you don't want those. Well, okay. Anyway, I'm not going to say that. But because we have people that listen to this podcast in 67 countries, right? So you can't say for what you're going to do in every single country, but you can say what you do, at least
Well, you
in
go
this
into
one in the
risk
US.
management mode, and in personal risk management mode, you are taking inventory of what it is that you will put up with and what you cannot suffer.
Okay.
You know, there are some men who can put up with their wife occasionally having a dalliance. I'm as
Yeah.
serious as hell. They just say to themselves, you know, as long as everything is okay, I'm
Yeah.
okay. And even if I think she's doing it, she's not doing it until I catch her doing it. And I'm
Yeah.
not going to devote even one molecule of oxygen to a bad situation. And then
Yeah.
there are other people who Loretta was 41 minutes late getting home last night and she said traffic was bad. I checked the traffic report and traffic wasn't that bad. Obviously, she
Yeah.
was in the Clippers locker room on her knees. Okay.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Okay. So here's another thing. When a man describes his wife as his partner, I think it's the man who's ovulating. It's one thing if Marley
Jeez.
says, "Oh, their partner," whatever. You're using modern vernacular. When I
Right.
hear that out of the mouth of a man, I just assume that he's triple vaccinated and heavily ovulating or something.
Okay, so they take inventory. I would assume they start making sure, because I've seen this with friends of mine. I mean, many times where they don't realize that, you know, they don't have they're not on the bank account, or they're not on the mortgage, or they don't have access, or they don't have access to like so many things. So it's like it's kind of doing all your homework, not just your like mental inventory of what you'll put up with, but kind of making sure you've got everything, what assets you have, and that you
Yep.
have access to it.
Yes, every single account, every
Yeah.
deed, everything. Have a copy of every single thing, and
Mhm.
then go into unpacking and inventorying what can I suffer and what will I not put up with, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
My advice to everyone, whether
Mhm.
you're neurotic or as rock-ribbed as, say, Elon Musk,
Mhm.
is never take false evidence as real. I had a client, an attractive woman who had a husband who was a flirtatious salesman, and he would
Mhm.
inappropriately flirt with cocktail waitresses, etc., in front of her.
Just
And she
that's
asked me, so how do I stop Tim from doing this or Clyde from doing this? And I said to her, take your turn flirting with the same woman.
Oh, that's a good one.
Gosh, Francine, you have the most remarkable shape. Don't pay any attention to Clyde. Clyde's going fishing next week, and I think we should have girls' night out or even better, girls' night in.
Oh boy.
Just diffuse the bomb that way. If
Yeah. Yeah.
Right, exactly. I have another client who's a celebrity. Her husband is a celebrity, and she keeps finding suggestive photography in his phone of other women. They're sending him selfies, all this stuff, and she's upset, right? Every time they have a tiff, it winds up in the tabloids. And I said to her,
Mhm.
Loretta, what you do is you tell Clyde, Clyde, I love you and I value our marriage more than anything in the world. But
Mhm.
at a certain point, you're going to do something that I cannot suffer, that I cannot put up
Mhm.
with. And there'll be no going back if it reaches that. And I don't know where that will be. And
Mhm.
so when something like that occurs, when some, you know, flight attendant flashes you or something like that, or you get some hot selfie from some woman in Montreal or whatever, just remember that I won't see all of them, but sooner or later I'll see something that will hurt me
Yeah.
so badly that I can't stay with you even one more minute. And once that's occurred, I can't unflip the switch. That changed both of them to the extent that she stopped looking and he stopped, making it obvious that he was getting, whatever, right? Men love that sort of attention from women. They do. And just because a man is getting that sort of attention and being flirtatious, doesn't mean that he is cheating. But it's not appropriate, especially in front of one's wife. Tendency of the type A personality male who are typically salesmen or private detectives or talk show hosts or something like that to indulge in a bit of that. I was out for lunch once with a friend of mine, an attractive woman who is around Pasadena, La Cañada, etc. And she and I were having lunch at Chipotle.
Mhm.
And I pointed out, oh, look over there in that other booth. There's a woman with her family who I believe is an adult film star. And my friend that I was having lunch with said, no, you're making it up, Nils. And I said, this is the name I think that person is. You look at do a little Google
Mm.
Rooski in your phone and tell me if it is. And she says, this is La Cañada. There couldn't possibly be an adult film star who has a husband and children who lives here in La Cañada. And I said, throw those bones out on the green felt, girl. Let's find out. And sure enough, she looked in the Google image search and voila, it
Wow.
was the same woman, right?
Wow. Wow, 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 wow,
Right?
wow, wow, wow. Yeah,
Not everything
crazy.
is as it appears. The way
I
that
know.
the way that these middle class couples who do adult film stuff like Brandy Love and her husband and Eva Lovia and all this is it's complete trust and security. It's not a world I want to be in. I don't want to have a
No,
wife
no,
or girlfriend who's an adult film star, right?
no.
But it has to be complete trust that he completely trusts her and she completely trusts him. Are they more secure than we are? Or are they just incredibly stone hearted where nothing is going to penetrate their heart?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, Nils, I could talk to you forever, and we already have another date on the books to continue our podcasting here. But I want to give you an opportunity to you have a new book out. How do people get it? How do people find you? Give us the scoop.
It's The Last Lawman, and it is my true to life professional memoir. 30 years of running and gunning in the streets of Los Angeles, picking up fugitives, rescuing kidnapped people, dead body cases, public corruption, things like that. A few instances of, philandering and other surveillances that started as that and turned into something else. But it's available on Amazon. Post Hill Press is my publisher. It'll soon be in Barnes& and Noble and other bookstores, maybe the airport bookstore. People will be rushing through the airport. It'll be delivered in June. It's available for pre-order today. I want to thank you for being such a capable hostess of so interesting and resonant a podcast. I hope that we've brought something of interest to your audience.
First of all, shout out to anybody who has a friend who might need this because share the podcast with them. If you have a friend who's suspecting something or maybe has gone through something like this, because I think it'll make them feel a lot better to know it's not them. But Yeah, I guarantee you. And then obviously this will end up on our YouTube channel. I'm excited to say we've hit more than 2 million views, so that's very exciting. So don't forget to subscribe, like, comment, and as I say, share the podcast with somebody who needs it. And most importantly, go and get Nils' book, which is called
The Last Lawman.
The Last Lawman. And Nils, we will put that in the show notes, and I put a little mark on the podcast here so that my team will put it slash put a cover the copy of the book so that they know what they're looking for. And if you have a QR code or something to pre-order, please give that to us because I'd love to flash that as well. And people can get that. And then Nils, if they want to get a hold of you, what's the best way to do that?
I'm in the phone book under J for jerk. No, I'm in the phone book. Nils Grevillius. I promise you, I'm the only Nils Grevillius in North America.
Well, thank God. Okay, well, I love that. Well, I can't thank you enough for having for taking the time to be with us, spending almost an hour. It's been wonderful. Everybody get the book. I've known Nils for more than half my life, and I promise you the stories will be worth it. So again, I can't thank you enough, Nils, and we will see you next time where we cover one of my other favorite topics. So I'm Marley Major, and that wraps another episode of Every Day is a Train Wreck. If you're not already, please follow us on at The Party Goddess and make sure to subscribe. Bye bye.